Hey guys, Dan here with your movie reviews for the week. You know, I didn't have a lot of time to watch a full slate of 4 movies like I usually do, so I thought we would explore a movie that has been very big on Netflix for the last couple weeks because it's a sequel and I never saw the original. So this review is going to be for The Kissing Booth and The Kissing Booth 2. Which is available right now, and then number 3 is actually in post-production, so they've already filmed it, won't be affected by the corona pandemic, and then that will be premiering on Netflix in 2021. So I thought about waiting just to do all 3, knock the trilogy out, but you know what, we'll do the 2 now, because obviously I was going to watch Kissing Booth 2 anyway for my 2020 list, so why not watch the first one as well and at least get acquainted with these characters. So these are based on a book series by Beth Reekles, I think it is. And there's 4 books actually in the series. The second book takes place between the first and second movie. And I don't know if I haven't quite figured out if they've incorporated things into the second movie from that book, but I would say probably not, because movie 1 is over a school year, movie 2 is over a different school year, and then this book that's in the middle apparently takes place over the summer. So I guess Kissing Booth 3 will be from the 4th book in the series. But this is something I was not familiar with the book series, certainly. I knew what The Kissing Booth was, the first one, when it came out, but I was focused on other movies, and I feel like the big 2018 Netflix rom-coms were the Noah Centineo movies, which was they just did the sequel to one of them, and then Sierra Burgess is a Loser is one of them. Anyway, so those were kind of the ones I watched because those were like the really, really big ones. But I don't know, Kissing Booth 2 had a lot of buzz on it. It was in Netflix's top 10 for a couple of weeks. So let's talk about it. I guess I'll sort of go over the plot for both and then just sort of review them together. I suppose that's what I usually do when I do like a series of films or whatever. But anyway, Joey King is the star of these movies, and we've seen her in many other things. She's been in some of the Conjuring films. She was a little girl in Oz the Great and Powerful, and she's been around for a while, but she's now of the age where she's playing these teenage high school romance movie type roles, and she plays Elle Evans here, and her very best friend Lee, played by Joel Courtney. They have been inseparable since birth. They were born at the same hospital at the same minute, this and that and the other thing, and their parents already knew each other, so they were friends from the start. They have an obsession with playing like a Dance Dance Revolution type game at the arcade. They're flawless on it, and they have this list of rules that you do not cross, and one of them on there is that you stay away romantically from anybody's sibling. That's rule, I think, 9 or 19 or something. I didn't write it down, but Noah Flynn is his brother, and he's played by Jacob Elordi. And as we kind of move through the first movie, it becomes sort of obvious that she is going to get with this dude. She sees him coming out of the pool all sexy and shirtless and wet and all of that in one of the early scenes. And so Lee's like, "What are you doing? Like, that's my bro." And she's like, "Yeah, I know, but come on. We're all in high school now. Like, drool, 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 whatever." So he is, I'm not sure exactly, I think he's 2 years older. Which would make sense because at the end of the second movie she's still maybe no, because they graduate at the end of the second movie, so maybe he's only 1 year older because he is away in college in the second movie. But anyway, she tries to keep the relationship a secret from Lee, and it ends up kind of blowing up in everybody's face, and all the while, I don't know, I kind of thought he was going to have some designs on Elle. Turns out maybe he does, but we don't really explore those themes until the second movie. So first movie, that's pretty much it. And then in terms of the actual Kissing Booth part of the title, they decide to have this Kissing Booth fundraiser as part of their school like carnival fundraiser thing, and it's a big hit. You pay $5 and you give whoever the kisser is that's currently up there a big smooch on the lips, and that's sort of how she ends up getting with Noah in the first place is through the kissing booth. So that's pretty much the first movie, I guess. In the second movie, well, I should say Molly Ringwald's in the first. Well, she's in both of them too. She shows up at the end of the kissing booth too. She plays Lee and Noah's mom. So I always feel for some reason, I guess because she was the high school teenage girl du jour of the 80s. I guess I always feel like if there's a high school thing that Molly Ringwald is a part of, she's somebody's mom or whatever, that it's going to be of some quality. And it's actually steered me wrong, I think probably more times than it's steered me correctly, because Secret Life of the American Teenager was not that good. Riverdale's good, well, it started out good, but she wasn't even in it until like the very end of the first season. So I can't really chalk that much up to her specifically. But it's funny, I just started going through the Facts of Life TV show, and young Molly Ringwald is in the first season before the show really found its focus and focused on, Tootie, Blair, Natalie, and Joe. Joe even wasn't in the first season, but it focused on a whole bunch of other girls in the first season, and Molly was one of them. And she's got to be, I don't know, like 10 years old. I mean, the first season of Facts of Life was like 79, I think. So she was very young. So it's funny to see her in that, and then to see her latest project, The Kissing Booth too. So basically, in the second movie, Elle and Noah are across the country from each other because he went to school in New England at Harvard, and she is back in California. And so, rumors start flying about their breakup, which, gives her pause to kind of wonder what is going on with their relationship. Can they handle long distance? And there's some clues that maybe he's cheating on her up at school, and she goes to visit him and finds an earring under the bed. So in her mind, she's convinced that that's definitely happening. Meanwhile, Lee is dating this girl. I think her name's Rachel, and let's see, she's played by Megan Young, and she is just not, she's like not even in the relationship. Like the relationship is basically him and her, her being Elle, and this Rachel is just kind of like off to the side. The whole movie, he treats her like garbage, because he's either, bringing her along essentially as a third wheel in him and Elle's, marriage, or, just forgetting about her entirely, standing her up at the movies because him and Elle are hanging out, whatever. So, and then there's this new hot dude, Marco Valentin Pena is the character, MVP, and he's played by Taylor Perez, a newcomer, and he's, the new hottie at the school, and Elle starts, crushing on him, thinking that her own relationship is already over, so they do another kissing booth, and she also needs to get money for college, and to do that she decides to enter this DDR type competition, and Lee ends up getting hurt, so he can't participate with her, so they convince this Marco dude to go ahead and do it with her, and so there's some chemistry there. So, all right, these are the basic plots of the movies. I don't really do spoilers on this channel, so I won't go into too much more detail than that, but that's what I got for you. So let's talk about the movies themselves. These are very generic rom-coms, high school comedies, whatever you want to call them. These are very, very typical. And I understand I'm not the target audience for these. I get it. But, just in the last couple of years, there's certainly high school comedies that I've liked so much more than these. Sierra Burgess is a Loser actually is a great example. I thought that was a very funny movie. There was one, actually, I guess it's more of a romantic drama, but Netflix had one earlier this year that was actually really good as well. I guess it can't really compete with Kissing Booth because it is, I would say, definitely more of a drama, but I graded that one pretty highly as well. But first of all, the second movie is over 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes or something? 2 hours and 11 minutes. Now, granted, of course, 7 minutes of that is credits, but, should any high school rom-com be longer than 2 hours? I would say probably not. I think, I have a few basic rules of like what could be more than 2 hours. Horror movies, I think, for the most part, should not be more than 2 hours. There are some exceptions. The first It movie, okay, but for the most part, I think 2 hours is really pushing your luck on a horror movie, and I think it's pushing your luck on a rom com. Now, the first one isn't quite as long. It does approach 2 hours, but I think it's about 10 minutes shy, maybe. Yeah, it's 110 minutes. So that one is like, for me, that's about a good length. An hour 40, hour 50 for a rom com. All right. It's hard to even say which of these movies is better, because I would say the second one is certainly better in terms of character development, a little bit of interesting plot, devices. The first one's just so generic, but the second one is so long. Even though it's only 20 minutes longer than the first one, it really, they just seem to be cramming everything they can think of into the mix here. Now, Joey King is a good actress, and I think she is essentially what keeps these movies afloat. I think her co-stars, especially her male co-stars, are all fine. Like, I don't think any of them are bad actors, but it's certainly, her movie. She's the star of it, and I think she's the glue that actually holds it together, if it's held together at all. In the second movie, there's like this very weird and forced, like gay, I can't even call it a subplot, it's like a D plot. Like, halfway through the movie, we see these two guys at a party, and like they're trying to maybe get together, and then sort of get C-blocked by one of his buddies, and he's like, oh, try not to be out. So he's just like, oh, never mind, I'll talk to you later, whatever. And then at the end, we see them again at the kissing booth, part 2, which, because it was such a success in the first movie, they obviously decided to redo it for the second movie. And then, of course, Marco is part of it. That's, it doesn't appear till the end of the second movie, though, but it's kind of in the middle of the first movie, maybe even before we get to the middle part. But anyway, so that just, as a gay man, that just seemed very, very forced and shoved in there to be PC or whatever. Like, and I talk about this a lot on my weekly TV review show, especially with like a CW show or like an HBO show. Like, there always has to be some sort of gay component to it. And it's like, it's, shows don't always have to have gay people. It's okay. Like, it's fine. There were no gay people on Seinfeld, and that's hilarious. I think it seems like pandering in 2020 to just throw a gay person in there with zero context, zero character development, zero anything. I'm not even sure if they have names. They probably do. But like, it just, that was kind of angering to me. But also, the concept itself of the kissing booth in 2020 seems so just like rapey. I don't see this flying at any high school. It takes place in present day, but I just, can you imagine a high school in 2020 saying, okay, here's a kissing booth. Anybody that wants to be kissed can volunteer. It's not like they're getting paid. They don't get a cut of the money or anything. Volunteer to be kissed by whoever comes up to them in the whole school, right? I don't know. I mean, like, I probably don't care. Like, that might be something I would do. Who cares? But, like, it just seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Like, I just don't think any school in their right mind would do that. So, just on the most basic concept of this movie, it falls flat. Like, it just doesn't make sense that would be happening, let alone the crux of the movie, essentially, especially the first one. So I don't know what happens in the Kissing Booth 3, but I guess we'll find out. I guess there's more kissing booths to be had. But it just is like, so any kid can pay $5, go up and kiss somebody. Now, like, me as a gay kid, I would have paid the $5 in high school to go kiss the boy that was up there. I'm sure he didn't plan on that, So, like, there's your lawsuit. I get punched out in the face, It just seems such a ridiculous concept. And maybe that's why they threw gay kids into the second movie. But they weren't necessarily kissing the boys, Anyway, that's a tangent, I guess, that doesn't need to even be talked about, because we could talk about so many other flaws in the films. Um, but just they're just very, very generic. The second one, like I said, does have better character development. I liked the second one better as a movie, but it's just way too long. If you trimmed 20 minutes from it, if they were both an hour and 50, I think you'd get a better result from the second one, and there would be a much more clearer cut. Okay, the second one's better than the first one. I still think the second one is better than the first one slightly, but its length really kind of kills it for me. Like I ended up watching it. It was all in one day, but I watched it in kind of like 3 sittings. I think like I got a phone call maybe a half hour in, and then after another hour, I was just like, ugh, I've got like another 45 minutes of this movie. Like, come on. So I had to pause it and go do something else for a little bit. But I don't know. I wish this movie had more to offer in way of originality, but the most original thing about it is the kissing booth itself, which is the most problematic, I think. Every other beat is very, very commonplace. The whole best friend trope, the whole brother trope, even kind of the rules that they have together. It's like, all right, we've seen that before with like really close people or twins or whatever in movies will have these different rules. I mean, even Zombieland, you go to the rule book, all that kind of stuff. There wasn't much original about it. It was almost like somebody was like, let's take everything we know about rom-coms or everything we think people like in rom-coms and just toss them in, regardless of whether they make sense for the plot or whatever. Throughout, I did laugh a few times. I mean, they weren't real belly laughs. I'd say they were chuckles. And Joey King really is trying her best to hold these movies together. I have to give it to her. And I think she's a very good actress. We've seen her, like I said, in many different kinds of things. We've seen her in horror. We've seen her in, Oz the Great and Powerful is more of like a comedy movie, or not comedy, but like a family movie. But she's also, a little girl in it. And she's done some voice work for other things as well. And here she's, doing the rom-com thing. So she's definitely a very versatile actress, and she, if anything, is holding this together. But like I said, she does have good chemistry with the male leads, too. I believed all of the relationships that were happening as well. I just don't think they were that well written. So I think that's it. I don't have much else to say really about it without repeating myself. So let's grade these movies. I'm going to give The Kissing Booth a C-. I teetered on a D+ because it's very, very generic, but at least lengthwise the first one sort of had its head on straight a little bit, and then the second one, good things about it, but just way too long. So I'll give The Kissing Booth a C. They could really, I may be being generous here, they could easily be a D+ and a C-. I mean, but neither of them are above average for sure. And I would say they are only just one grade apart. So, if you want to think, okay, I'm maybe going a little too easy based on how many negatives I had about it, then it's a D+ and a C-. If not, I think a C- and C is okay, because Joey King really does make the character compelling. Just there's so many other factors of issue with these two movies, but I can't recommend either one, that's for sure. A C is definitely not a recommend. It is a very, very, very average film. So there you go. That's The Kissing Booth. Next week I will have, I think, a full slate of 4 new movies for you. I keep saying I'm going to do a Netflix week. I think there are 4 movies on Netflix to watch other than The Kissing Booth. So maybe we will do a Netflix week next week, and then another round of like just on-demand kind of movies. I know there's an Jason Sudeikis one coming up on Apple TV Plus, and there's also an Adam Devine one coming on Disney Plus. I think maybe today. So I'll have those for you, I guess, in the next couple weeks as well. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and comment below, subscribe, of course, and we'll talk to you next time.